What's up, everyone? Today we are here for our second episode for highlighting student experiences for UF ISE. Today we are here with Justin.
Hi, everybody.
How are you doing today, Justin?
Pretty good. Kind of tired, but all good.
Our MCs today will be me, Deniz, and Katie.
Hey, everyone.
So we are just gonna go ahead and start our questions. And before we start our questions, can you tell us your experiences throughout the past 4 years you have been here?
Yeah, sure. So my first real experience is so it was during the COVID semester, or I guess 2 semesters. I was working part time at a furniture company, and I was working as a EDI order processor, so just processing online orders, just doing the day to day stuff. Also branching out and doing some creative activities, so creating flyers, creating I guess pages to put on their display models, and then experience outside of that. I've been working as a TA for the past almost 2 years now, so with various different classes. So
sounds cool. Thank you. Katie, do you want to start with the first question?
Yeah, so that's really interesting that you've been a TA for multiple years. Have you worked with the same professor for the same class, or have you worked with a few different classes?
I've definitely worked with a lot of different classes. I think for this semester, I'm up to 4 total. So the first one I've done was VBNet with Dr. Curley. Then I did OR2 with Dr. Sun. And then I did, and in that same semester, I did DA1 with Sabahi. And this semester, I'm doing DSS with Dr. Landrum, or Professor Landrum.
Cool. And what was your official job title in your internships?
So the internship, I guess the official job title was EDI order processor. Yes, intern. So I was just working under. It was a pretty small department. I think it was just me and the head. So before I came in, it was just the head doing all the stuff, and then she allocated that work to me. And then because I worked over the year, a lot more people came in and helped out with that. I helped train permanent positions. So.
And can you describe your responsibilities that came with both of these jobs?
Sure. Yeah. The EDI order processor. I was mainly responsible for processing all the orders that came in from the electronic marketplaces. So, our biggest customers were coming from Wayfair, Walmart, Amazon, and Overstock. So those were the big 4. And it depends on what type of order or what type of furniture they're purchasing. Usually, we call in other carriers such as FedEx and UPS to come in, pick up the orders, and then they're on their way with that. But if it's a pretty big order, like a couch or a bed frame, we would call freight companies, local freight companies, or if it's transcontinental or not continental, trans-country, we would call in big companies to come in with their trucks and making sure everything's loaded correctly and then off with their way with the product.
And how did you find out about both the TA positions and your internships?
Sure. So I guess the job that came first was the intern position. So I was already pretty good friends with one of the workers in the company, and then she referred me to the boss, and then it kind of worked out from there. So maybe kind of nepotist, but yeah, exactly, yeah. But it was definitely a rewarding experience. And in terms of being a TA, it's really just reaching out to the professors. So I actually asked the TA, one of the TA for that class beforehand, how that process went down, and he basically just said just shoot an email to Dr. Curley and he'll get you started on all that. And there was a preliminary I guess interview, but it was just a chat of how I studied, how I performed in the class, what topics are relevant in performing well in this class and such and such. And that process kind of translated over to the other position, like TAs, that I was working under. So with OR2, it was kind of weird because the OR2 professor I didn't have. So I had to like reach out to the OR2 professor, and he was unfamiliar with my background, but then like he just had a Zoom chat with me, and then he like liked my work ethic and how I explained things. And with the other professors, so Curly, Sabahi, and Landrum, I already knew them beforehand and built the rapport like through class. So it was a lot easier with them. So.
Very nice. So for the internship specifically, were there any courses at UF that you took leading up to the internship that you thought were really helpful?
I think so. I actually had the internship during my sophomore year, so I was basically taking like the general elective or not general credit courses. So I don't think it particularly helped me. I guess the like not content wise, but I guess like work ethic wise. So like being able to manage my time wisely with those classes translated over to time management in the workplace. So like I guess my like technical experience not really, it didn't really help out, but I did learn a lot in the internship. Just doing the day-to-day stuff.
Okay, awesome. Speaking of time management, I was just wondering about how many hours on average did you have to commit to being a TA for these classes?
Sure. So for being a TA, a lot of professors have like different estimates. I think the median range was like 10 hours a week. So it was like 10 hours a week for Dr. Curley. For Dr. Sun, it was like 7 hours. For that position, it was actually interesting. So I held office hours, and as well, like I held like discussion sessions on Friday. So like that was like the big change in shift of like TA position, because like TAs in like ISE, like they don't really like host a class. So they just mainly hold office hours and provide help on assignments and stuff. But it was definitely like, I guess like fun in a way, because like I got to interact with a lot more students through being a discussion lead. So in terms of hours per week, it was 7 to 14, depending on if I'm grading anything, because grading definitely takes the longest time.
And you kind of touched upon this by saying you interacted with a lot of students during your discussions, but what did you like about your experiences, I guess, both for being a TA and in your internship?
Sure. So with the internship, I guess like it put like into perspective like just like working in an actual workplace environment, because the jobs that I had before that were like summer jobs. I was like a recreational or like a summer camp counselor type of job, but like when you're actually working with professionals, they hold you to a certain standard, and I guess it's definitely like nerve-wracking like first couple weeks, but like you definitely get into the flow of things, and I guess the best experience that I can take out of that position is that being able to process information really quickly, because the training process, it was kind of rigorous, because each marketplace, like Wayfair, Walmart, Amazon, they all have like different ways of processing their orders. And it was funny because like during while I was working there, they were like having a overhaul in their like UI, so they would like change like however they would process the order. So it was kind of hard like keeping up with all that, but it was rewarding because I got to make customers happy. In terms of being a TA, what I can take away is that like I just like helping people like understand difficult concepts, and like when students get that like aha moment, it's just like it's heartwarming. not to sound like too cheesy, but like it gets you feeling good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because you've been doing a good job.
Yeah.
So what do you think has helped you the most prepare for your future after you graduate?
I think prepared me the most, probably it's actually like probably being a TA, because the intern position wasn't really relevant, or I guess it is relevant to my major, but it's not like what I particularly want to go into. But being a TA, I'm able to like build up the, I guess, technical knowledge, but help other people also understand the technical knowledge. So like a lot of classes, you interact with students through group projects, but it's a different thing when you're trying to lead someone through a problem. So that definitely helped me with, in terms of helping people understand and convey things correctly, or like try to make them understand in their own way. So.
Yeah. You said you didn't think what you did in your internship was what you want to do.
Sure. Yeah.
After you graduate. So, like, how did that influence what you might want to do, or like what field you want to work in the future, like, and like how did you like what do you want to do when you graduate?
Sure. Yeah. So the internship position was more, I guess, like a traditional like supply chain role. So like you have to know when orders, or like how much you should order, like just to make the customers happy, like how to prevent back orders and stuff like that. But because it wasn't like technically the HQ, so the HQ it's headquartered in I think LA. So we weren't able to like actually do anything with processing back orders. We would just like send them back to LA. So it never got like into the nitty gritty of like being a supply chain analyst. It was just like baseline. Okay, here's what a supply chain analyst does like on the day-to-day basis. But the technical skills on the other end. So being a TA, I'm able to, just convey the information in a well-organized fashion. And, because like once you go like higher up in your positions, you're going to have to train someone, or you're going to have to be the mentor to someone. And it's definitely helpful, like already having that experience like throughout. So in terms of shaping what I wanted to do, I definitely want to work with more, I guess, like computers and stuff. So like programming is a big thing, but also like tailoring experiences to the user is also like a big thing. But with being an order processor, you're not really interacting with customers because it's like online orders, so it's kind of weird. But yeah, I don't really know like what industry or like what position I'm looking for, but it definitely like opened my eyes into what's out there.
Nice. So do you have any advice for students who would want to work in a similar role?
Sure. So definitely always be open, because coming from my background, I'm always like, oh, I'm right, type of thing. But you should definitely be more open into how to do things, but also don't be afraid to, speak up if you really do think you're right, because, different perspective always helps. There's no such thing as a dumb answer to a question, and there's also no such thing as a bad time to ask a question. I remember it wasn't like my story, so I'm kind of stealing it, but one of the recruiters, like, they came in and told me that a story about like when it was right to ask a question. So like she went like through like a whole business meeting. It was like 2 hours long about like one specific job faction, but like she went through the whole thing, and then like she was trying to do research on her own, but then like she just asked someone, and it was just like a shorthand of like what the overall process was, and she's like, oh, I didn't have to like do like a whole bunch of research in order to understand what the process was. But yeah, definitely those are the two big things. So like then they're kind of like two sides of the same coin type of way. So like don't be afraid to speak up in terms of what you think is right, and also don't be afraid to ask questions. So those are the two big, I guess, advice I could offer.
Great advice. Nice question.
Yeah.
For students who are interested in being a TA,
Mhm.
do you have any advice for how to obtain the position?
Definitely, I guess. Well, it's important to build a rapport with the professor beforehand, because like if you go through the whole semester, not going to class, not going to office hours, and such, and then you just like pop an email in and saying that you want to be a TA, they're probably going to favor other people that have been going to class, participating in lecture and such like that. So like that's the biggest thing, is just like showing face, because they're gonna want to work with people that they know already. And in terms of being a TA and like trying to get that position, it wasn't like really competitive, because like there's only so many people that want to go out of their way and help. Because like a lot of people just like, oh, I'm done with the class, let's like put all that information out of my mind. But just like reaching out, and it helps like keep your skills sharp too. So like if you want to become a TA, but so it's not as competitive as like any other like internship position, but like it's definitely helpful in like maintaining your technical skills and such. So yeah, so build rapport, prolong your technical skills. Those are the two main things.
Thank you. I think that's all we have for today. Thank you for taking the time to come and talk to us.
Yeah, of course.
Hope everyone enjoyed the podcast. Follow us on Instagram. It's ISE Ambassadors, and keep up to date with what we are up to as an organization. See you in our next episode.
All right, bye guys.
Thanks.